Simon, you've had quite an interesting, diverse upbringing and a diverse journey into from construction into politics. You've also had an incident when you were 17, which kind of shaped your outlook on life. You talk to us a little bit more about that.
Well, I mean, I was very fortunate. I grew up in a family where my mum, as a teacher, really valued education, and I had benefit of attending some great schools and getting a great education. And then I went off to university, thinking I'd study some things that I was interested in. At the time, that was politics and history, ancient history and archaeology. And there's still things I'm very, very passionate about. About halfway through the year, or maybe it was a semester break, some friends of mine decided that we'd go camping up north. And one of them decided that it'd be a good idea if we bought some weed. And as you do when you're a uni student and you're camping. And that led to a series of events where we ended up being confronted by some people who had a firearm, who were very, very scary people.
You had a firearm?
The person who confronted us had a firearm and pointed it at me. And then during a discussion where I might have said some things, and the fellow with the gun said some things, I got shot. And the person very deliberately shot me. And then I was...
Can I ask you where you got shot?
I got shot in the foot at point blank range with a sawn-off shotgun.
With a shotgun?
So all of the things that you think you're going to do when you're a young person, the careers you might have, the things you might do, at that moment, they change. Now, that changed some things for me, but it didn't change me wanting to try to make a difference in the things I was doing in my life. And when I recovered from that, there was a process. The guy eventually went to court and was charged and convicted. That took a while. I took quite a long while to recover. But during that process, I had an opportunity to think about the decisions you make in your life, the things if you had your time again, you probably wouldn't do. But again, no one deserves to get shot for buying weed. And, hopefully we've moved on in New Zealand from that. But I think what that did was give me an opportunity to reflect on what was important in life. I went away, I did an OE, I came back a few years later, and I'd resolved that I would study science and then engineering, and that I wanted a career actually being in the outdoors, as a lot of young people do, being involved in building things and conserving nature and protecting the environment as best as I could through the things that I was building. And I ended up getting a job on a landfill for a fantastic New Zealand company and being involved in environmental management and then environmental engineering and the waste industry. And I did that overall in my career for about 14 years. So, sometimes really, really bad things happen to people in the course of their life, and at that point you have to make a decision. Am I going to am I going to be knocked down by this, or am I going to evaluate where I'm at and decide some things that are going to make sure that I have that good things happen? So
that incident at 17 changed your life for the better?
It did. I had a very privileged upbringing in terms of growing up in a loving, caring family, great education, lots of great friends, and I had never thought that bad things would happen to me or I'd be confronted with something like that. The worst thing that I knew had ever happened to someone is a friend fell off his skateboard and broke their arm, right? So so it was an opportunity for me to reflect, and hopefully people who knew me then will look at what I've achieved in my personal life, with my family and my boys. I've got three boys. And in my work life, and now in this public life and politics, and say actually, we knew Simon back then, and we're really pleased that he's managed to achieve some things, even though it wasn't looking very good that day. Yeah.
No, good on you for turning things around, man. That's scary to think about. At least being held at gunpoint.
It was a very scary moment, and when I hear about violent crime. People in their shops or in their homes, being robbed, people going to work at the shopping mall, like in a jeweler or in a store, and having people come into their store trash it and threaten them and rob, I can empathise with how that feels as a victim of crime and to feel threatened and the threat of violence.
Yeah.
It also has it tweaks a great sense of the sense of unfairness in me when these things happen to people. It wasn't they will always question themselves, what could I have done differently? Could I have protected the shop differently? Could I have protected my staff? But in the end, I think victims of crime need to feel safe, and perpetrators of crime need to feel the consequences.
Yeah, your newest ACT member from Hamilton, I keep forgetting his name. He fights for the shopkeepers who get attacked.
Are you talking about former ACT MP, Dr. James McDowell?
No, his name skips me. The Indian fellow from Hamilton, who he's an ACT member, very recent ACT member.
Yeah, no, I know the chap you're talking about. Yeah, he stood as a candidate recently. Yeah.
Yeah. He does some great work in the space, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Anyways, now, mate, the support for victims is very, very important. And you more than anybody else. Know that.
Yeah. But also, Andy, you'll know that, and all the time we work together, and all the other roles that I've had, it hasn't been like what happened to me as a 17-year-old. Hasn't affected the work that I've done.
Fair.
It's not something I've ever talked about with people. Many people know about it who knew me when I was 17, but it's not something that I've ever chosen to dwell on. I think it's just really important that if you can, no matter what's happened, you can just get on with your life.
But here's the thing, right? That's, as a 17-year-old, you had a scary incident that could have changed your life one way or another, and you chose a path to be better, to make something of yourself. And that was a turning point in your life. And you could be a prime example for a lot of youngsters out there who have had any of those situations. Hopefully not many people, but have had bad things happen to them. Let that bad moment not define who you are, and
that's right.
Use it as an example to turn your life around. Move on.
Yeah, that's right.
Achieve greatness.
Look, it's helpful that I come from a family that's very supportive. I had a good education. There's a lot of young people who end up in trouble who don't have that. And so one of the things that we need to think about, now moving back into what would a government do? What is the role of the state? Is actually providing for young people who do get in trouble with education, so that if they are in trouble, that they can complete their education, become literate and numerate, so they can function in society and actually get a job, fill out a timesheet and all of those things, so they can get a driver's license. Because if you're a young person driving around without a license, you're committing a crime.
Absolutely.
And so we need to think about not just those who have good support and can get back on their feet. In my case, it took a little while because one of them got shot. But all of those young people who don't have that family support. So we need to think about that as well.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Absolutely.